How are you, my
Hello, sir.
friend? How are you doing, sir?
Good, good. We enjoying some hot weather, but
Yes,
yeah, that's
indeed.
always nice.
Yes, indeed, indeed. Family good?
Yeah, yeah. Family's all good. We had a quite a nice day today, but
Mm,
everyone
mm.
was so busy and out and about. Yeah, it's quiet time
Awesome,
now.
awesome, awesome. You always do an amazing job when it comes to the family, bro. I'm like kind of like just looking from a distance. I need to pick up some tips from my brother. Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah, that's so good.
thought I'll close that blind. Yeah, it's trying to juggle everything, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
And even
absolutely.
today's topic about leadership and accountability,
Yeah,
should be an interesting one. Hi, good
absolutely,
day, good day,
absolutely.
evening,
Mr.
Josie.
Chino, what's up, my friend? How you doing, sir? You good?
Everything is good. Thank you. We give thanks. We give
Uh,
thanks. We give
awesome,
thanks.
awesome,
A
awesome,
lovely
awesome.
day.
Well, gentlemen, it's that time again. Thank you so much for joining us. We've got another exciting session this evening. Last week, my goodness, about it, we were pushed to another level, and Mr. Jordan did an amazing job, and I think this evening, with great confidence, I can say he's going to do it again. So we are not going to delay any further. Mr. Jordan, you go for it,
Thank
sir.
you, thank you, thanks, uh, thanks for everyone who's on the call and those who are joining outside, and those who will listen to it again. I'm sure we'll relate to a lot of we what we're going to talk about today. Um, and yeah, in one sense, if I look at the topic, accountability and leadership, um, they both go together.
Hmm.
One is dependent on the other, and I guess as a leader, you want success at the end as to your efforts in leading. Um, I think we don't all grow up wanting to lead, but naturally, as if you're a man, you end up having to lead at some point, even in your families or in your job, um, in your activities, even in sport, you might become the captain of a team where you have to lead. Um, and you can see when things go wrong, say on a football match, everyone's looking towards the captain who has to lead and make decisions. So when you wear the band, it's not just there for the show. You have to be able to lead the team. And I guess in World Cups, you sort of wonder who's going to be the leader, who's everyone looking up to, and how's that person going to be chosen. But yeah, I think we got it in all areas of our lives. So yeah, I thought I'd put a question out there just to ask you guys and anyone out there what you think. What does accountability look like? Because uh, we're more familiar with leadership and people leading, um, but we don't often associate it with accountability. Um, we we also see things that aren't genuine sometimes. Let's say a scam that comes across quite convincingly. Say a cyber scam over the internet. Someone behind that is leading it. If it's a syndicate, there's people leading things, but they don't take accountability. Is it for what they're producing and the outcome? Um, but for us who have to make sense of good leadership, we want a good outcome, and with that comes accountability. So I don't know what are your thoughts about accountability um, in relation to leadership, whether it's uh, in your family, in your personal roles, in your job description. Um, yeah, just to hear what you have to say about accountability.
Do you want to go first, Mr. Kendrick?
Yes, I'm cool with anything. I don't mind. I don't mind. Um, I think for me, when it when it comes to accountability, I think it just speaks for itself. Um, I think it comes back to, uh, can we count on you? Plainly said, it's just because it's kind of like the gap between what you intend to do
Yeah.
and what you actually end up doing.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we can kind of like put ourselves out there and we can make a promise to ourselves. We don't tell anybody. And if I don't follow through, if I don't do it, it's okay. It's like nobody knows. Why? Because there's no sense of accountability. So which means nobody can even really count on you because you kind of like just drop off on anything that you decided. So I think in a nutshell, that's what it means to, because it does accelerate your progress. It kind of like does all kind of things. Why? Because you are accountable. So that's my thought on that.
Thanks,
Fantastic.
Kendrick. Any thoughts, Chidozi, from your side?
Yeah, I mean, very good, very good question. Sometimes when you come up with these topics and so on, and you look at it, and if you don't really have a good look at it, you won't be able to try and connect these topics and say, accountability, leadership, and so on. You can separate them on a good day. You can separate them and say, this is leadership, this accountability. But for me, I believe that at the foundation of every leadership is a goal, is a why, is an outcome that is expected. And when accountability is only relating to somebody else, when we look at accountability from the standpoint of, for me to lead well, for me to do well, I've got to have an external person that I'm accountable to. That works its own magic, but there's got to be that fundamental list of reasons why you want to lead. In that case, this is self-accountability, because that's the foundation. If you don't even have that self-accountability, you won't have the guts to now go and look for other sources of accountability that you can get from somewhere. I'll give you an example. Now, for example, personally, something that's really close to me is to begin to find ways that I can help people to turn around their lives, to change their fortunes based on shared, knowledge, based on what they know and what I know. If we put it together, we might be able to begin to liberate those people. Now, such goals are not really 100% driven by money. So what will give me satisfaction is not because I've made $1 million doing that for people. What will give me satisfaction is to find someone who is at this stage 10, and I find them tomorrow they're on stage 1,000. So that's how, these are the reasons that I'll give myself. That's what I will hold myself accountable to before I start thinking of, let me think of other people that I'm going to bring in, I'm going to, because that's the fundamental, that's the basis of everything you're doing. When you're leading, why do you want to lead? Do you just want to lead and be the boss and just be there? Or do you want to lead and produce results for the organization? That's what will keep you awake when everybody's sleeping, when everybody's enjoying a sunny day. You are sitting down there and thinking, how do we crack this problem that this organization has? How do we make it happen? Because even if nobody thinks that there's this, in some cases you find that you're trying to solve a problem that everybody else has given up on. And in fact, if you give up on it at that point, nobody's going to blame you. But if you have that self-accountability, you begin to think of ways to push boundaries. How do I solve this problem? Am I that person that will see a problem and be defeated by a problem? Or am I going to take a step forward, a take further, to look for solutions so that I can bring this solution to people? So that when people look at it, they will say, yes, even though we thought that it was gone, I was able to fix that problem. You see, that's how I think that they begin to relate. You have your set of goals, your set of reasons why you want to lead, And then you begin to develop that habit of self-accountability first. Bible calls it self-control. Bible calls it self-discipline. You have got to have that first. That will now push you to say, okay, for me to achieve more of this in this area, I need to have accountability partners in this area, so that as I'm moving, we can rub minds. They can help me. When I'm falling, they can tell me I'm falling. But without that core one that is based on the reasons that you've given yourself, that you're holding yourself accountable based on those, then leadership will become very, very impossible. Thank you.
Thank you. So that's very interesting. I like the way you point out that even in its simplicity, it starts with self, isn't it? For us to recognize, I guess, as men, that we are natural born leaders, means at some point the accountability issue has to be addressed by yourself. And I guess it starts, I guess, in your younger years when you're growing up, and you're living with your parents, for instance. You're not accountable for everything because you're still being looked after. And I guess sometimes the longer you can stay in your parents' house, the less accountability you will be forced, I guess, to adopt and adapt to. So it's neither a good thing or a bad thing when you're young, but at some point you have to decide, this is it. I'm going out into the world, and especially if you're away from that safety net, accountability, let's say your first job and your first time working away, that's a big test, isn't it? And it tests your skills upon everything you're doing, but also your accountability, because there's nobody else to turn to. You're on your own. You might not have the experience, but you have to accept the accountability. But I guess we all grow with accountability being something that we have to look at and we have to address in leadership. And I think we all, as men, we should be leaders, if not in other areas within our own lives, within our own families, within our communities, within our workplaces, church, or wherever, sport, wherever we find ourselves. And yeah, we don't always get the opportunities, but we can create opportunities for us. But guess what happens when I suggest something at work that is a solution and I haven't discussed it with everyone? So if I'm convincing and it sounds good, guess what happens? I get asked to actually lead it. And then I have to take on that accountability of, I didn't intend to actually lead this, but as I've got this idea and I've maybe got most of the knowledge and I carried that over, I have to now be accountable. So through that process we grow, which is really good. Yeah, and I think one fact also is that the importance of failure in the learning process is also well recognized. When I was young, working on construction sites, often I would be left alone after a short period of time, maybe a week, with a senior engineer. And without me knowing, they've already planned, after a week they disappear, and I'm managing the site and the people and the responsibility. And in those cases, you do have failures. You have to ask help. You might not know what to do in a situation. But if you messed up or you didn't do the right thing, you take accountability for it. And I think that builds good character and leadership, I guess. It tests you, and you can use that as a vehicle into leadership roles and looking after not just your own interests, but the interests of others around you. So I think that's really interesting. I was going to also touch a bit on us defining or clarifying roles, let's say goals and our expectations of a leader. And if we look at the context, I think good leadership creates an opportunity to inspire others, first of all, also to become leaders. And I think for us as humans, it's quite unique that we're the only species that can create complex environments and complex systems by working together if we're in agreement. In the animal kingdom, I think certain studies were done even with chimpanzees. When the group gets too big, it becomes chaotic, and they can't actually organize themselves. Even in a wolf pack, there's a leader, there's a hierarchy, there's an order. But for human beings, we can choose how big that group needs to be and still organize ourselves within the context of, say, an organization, a large organization. If you think of NASA maybe creating a space program that is running over so many years, and still they haven't finished with their expeditions, but they've changed hands with new leadership, new people. And that's the beauty of us human beings, where we can create those environments which are highly complex, which actually, I was driving the other day, just when I was up in Manchester through Merseyside, and being in Cambridge, there's not a lot of flyovers and bridges, and all the roads is very flat here in Cambridge. And when I went up towards the west coast, I found like the big cities, Liverpool, Manchester, quite a lot going on. And I was wondering, when was all of this built? Who organized it? Must be a lot of people, but there had to be some order, some agreement amongst them to build all the systems in place. I did get a fine on the way back because I crossed the Mersey River. There was two routes. One had the toll, which is an automatic toll, only £2.50. You don't have to pay it on the day, but by midnight the next evening. So you can drive through, cameras pick you up, and lo and behold, I forget to pay. And I get a £40 fine. But I thought, wow, look at the systems today. They actually trick you in saying you can pay later because they know we're going to forget. And if you don't pay in a certain time, it doubles in price. But these are all systems which are man-made. I'm sure when parking charges came out, those systems weren't thought about. But us as humans, we can create some really complex systems that work in our favor. And that makes us pretty unique. So for leadership, you can achieve a lot by inspiring others to become leaders as well. And I think if you're a leader in that position, your family members will look up to you. Others in an organization will look up to you to aspire. So I think it's important to be accountable, not just to yourself, but to others. My question for you is, how do you find the roles and, let's say, goals and expectations of other leaders in the context of you leading? It can go two ways. You aspire people to lead like you lead, by example, or you create other types of leaders within the outcome that you want. Is that something I need to expand on, or is it something that you think is important? Because often we don't know what outcome we get if we're not intentional as leaders as well.
Are you able to repeat the question, please, Andrew?
Yeah, just can you define or clarify
Yeah.
the roles, goals, or expectations of other leaders that you might want to develop within the context of your influence as a
I might
leader?
want to. There was a break in your voice there.
So I'll repeat that.
Yeah.
Because we are all leaders, let's say in the context of your own home,
Yeah.
you want others to lead as well.
Yes. Yes.
Eventually, as if you got a son or daughter, you want them to become leaders,
Uh-huh.
but you are the influence.
Yeah.
So you are intentional as to teaching them. In an organization, the same. You would want
Yeah.
to bring other leaders up. So, what would your role or goals be, or your expectations for each leader that you can think of, and how you can sort of define or clarify that?
If I understood the question clearly, I will just re-ask it. So, what characteristics would I be expecting from another leader in order to be able to influence others to produce results that is required in the organization? Am I right?
Yeah, it's
Okay. All
absolutely.
right. So with that, it's very easy for us to have a very nice posh list of what the qualities that we're looking for. We want the person to be truthful. We want them to be punctual. We want them to be hardworking, trusted, reliable, all those sort of things. But one thing I found with leadership is people will follow you. When people want to learn leadership from somebody, they learn more from how you do things than from what you teach them. I will say it in another way with an example. You know, you can come into an organization, you've worked in organizations where there are these town halls, and they come out and they say, oh, this is the direction that we're taking the organization. By the time we get through to month 6, we should have been seeing these results. This is what's going to change. That's what's going to change. And you're very excited. You can see it. You're excited. That's your leader speaking. And on day one, you see the excitement is still there. You look at you are excited because there is expectation. But as the days go by, the only thing that's going to keep you going is if what the leader has said is aligned with their actions, the steps that they're taking. And I can guarantee you, most organizations, you start seeing the disparity between what they've told you they're going to do and the way things are going. And then you still see such leaders magically thinking that magically one day, you know, the two lines that are going in opposite directions are just going to get to month 6 and suddenly they hit each other and bang, that's the result. No, no, no. So it's about not just leading by what we say, but leading by what we do, by us as leaders being learners. Because if you do not learn, you're not going to be able to lead, especially in these days of information revolution, where the information that you had last month may not be valid anymore today. So being able to be that learner who not only goes and learns and is ahead of the game always, but being able to learn from those people that you're leading, because it's also part of leadership. We don't have eyes behind us, but if we have all those people around us that we're looking up to, that are looking up to us as leaders, if we're able to bend down and listen to them, we begin to build up that confidence in them, and it's a very, very good skill. Because irrespective of how beautiful your ideas are, if there are no, if your followers are not interested, they don't understand it, because that's what happens with very top level leaders. The way they are thinking is different from the way the people are thinking. But the people that are following are the actual doers in most cases. So being able to learn both from both learning both the trends of things happening and learning from the people following you, and helping them, showing them that virtue of being able to being teachable, because we all have to be teachable. The next one is hard work. If you tell yourself, if you tell someone that you want to lead this organization, this and that, and you're turning up at 12 midday because you're the boss, it doesn't make any difference. You're telling your child, oh, you need to tidy up everywhere, but your bedroom is not clean, it's not tidy. What does that do for the child? It just helps them to build up excuses and excuses. And when you say, they will say, Daddy, but how about you? You did that the other day, didn't you? So why am I being told off for not doing this, and so on? So now we now come back to that subject of accountability. That's part of our topic today. Whatever characteristics that we have talked about, be it leadership, be it being organized, be it being a hard worker, being a learner, being empathetic, listening, communicating, whatever it is that you want to change, all these ones. If you're going to say these things and it's just based on what you're saying and you're expecting results from people, then you will not find any. So although these roles, all these type of behaviors that you would expect from a leader are very important, if you cannot be held accountable for producing the same results that's aligned to whatever it is that you're teaching in your school of leadership, or in those presentations that you make to your colleagues to make sure that they align to the goals and the dreams of the organization, then you will not get anywhere. And that's how I would put that.
Yeah, that's absolutely spot on. Really good insight there, Chidozie. I like the point you make about allowing each leader to get the direction that they need, but at the same time, if you're leading a group of people, you want to identify their strengths, isn't it?
Yeah.
And their shortcomings, so that you can adjust. Mm-hmm. But I guess for each person in an organization, or even in your family, they sometimes need their goals to be clarified or help with it. They've got an idea. You might have a better idea in terms of goal options for them, but ultimately they would choose what their goals are. And if they have a certain role to play, if you've got more experience as a leader, that's where you nurture. And the expectations is something that I think some leaders overlook. Because I think a recent study showed, after the end of COVID restrictions, people having worked from home for so long, really adjusting and enjoying the experience of working from home. And then challenging employers when they were first called back. I believe Elon Musk, if I'm right, he insisted all his employees come to the office 5 days a week. And I think it's Google, in the same sense, in terms of IT and research, those same developers who, I guess in America, were thinking, no, but why do they have to only go 1 day a week and still enjoy the same benefits and same productivity? So Google actually put an ad out that they would take on all the employees from Tesla working for Elon Musk. If they want to work from home, they will gladly just onboard them. They can apply straight away. So look at leadership strategies, but also the expectations of each leader and the outcome and the challenges they faced. But the expectations of the individual person becoming a leader, we can't even overlook that. And we do find people in their frustration, they leave a job, they leave a company if things don't materialize and they've maybe made the expectations known and it hasn't come to pass. It's been year 2, year 3. So I think you can be accountable if you recognize those things. I don't know what you think, uh, Kendrick. What's your thoughts on those things that you think each leader should
Yeah,
do?
that's really that's such an awesome point that you brought up there. Just kind of like just to pick on one of the things that Chido was just mentioning, and also you kind of like just jumped on top of that when you mentioned Google and Tesla.
Yes, yeah,
I think one of the things that we kind of like in general overlook is we focus more on the actions of a leader, and sometimes we associate those actions with the thinking. I think it's more important for us to understand how the specific person that is leading, what is the thinking behind why they do what they do or the way they do things. Because if you can, because obviously we are exposed to leadership in so many different capacities, leaders at work, in business, at church, in the community. And when you're in a specific organization, there's always different opportunities to lead. It's like because there's always something uh, else that somebody else is better in than yourself. So which means that person will kind of like lead in that specific area. And I think that's the kind of thinking we should have when it comes to leadership. It's not so much that one person is a leader in any given scenario, but everybody is a leader within their own right, because you have your strength, you have your there are certain abilities that you have as a leader, which the main leader as such does not have. But sometimes you're going to have to be the one, or somebody else have to be the one that will steer the organization or the group in a specific direction, because that's your strength. So I think it's important to understand the thinking behind a specific leader more than the actions, even though the actions are very important. So kind of like to come back to your question, you asking, clarify the roles, the goals, and the expectations of each leader that you're looking to bring up. I would say there's most probably kind of like a handful of things that most probably personally I would kind of like look out for. And I think that one of the main things, or just to mention a couple, would be um, whether the person has vision, whether the person can see, because sometimes maybe you can see a specific individual has great talent, that there's great potential, but they just can't see. They have no idea where it is they're going. They have no idea what it is they really want out of life. So which means the question is, are you at a place where you are prepared to help that person to live beyond what they can see in front of them, but kind of like being able to see into the future and not just live on the here and the now. Because if you have a person like that on your team, and they just want things to be like, right, that's everything is it's sense based. When that happens, there's a lot of frustration, and they kind of like ask a lot of questions. But why don't we do this? Do we do the? But it's you as a leader. Maybe you see a bigger picture. You can see a few steps, and that's your job as a leader. You must be able to see, see further than those that you are leading. So I think vision is very important, even though they are not on the same level that in terms of the vision, but at least they have the potential to see a little bit further. And I think the next one is integrity. Oh man, I think integrity is key. because somebody can be very gifted and you can bring them up and cultivate them into the team. But if the guy doesn't have integrity, if he kind of like, fall short on, you can't really trust the person. I think that's a big one that you, personally, you need to ask yourself: can I trust this? Because now, especially if you look at, maybe you're building an organization, a company where you're feeding mouths or whatever the case might be. Um, so which means it's not only about this one individual. It's about, if anything goes wrong, whether that person will be able to own up on it. So I think integrity is a crucial thing. And I think the next one is, uh, whether the person is growth minded. Because anybody that has the desire to lead, uh, you will eventually get to a place where everything and everyone around you will outgrow you. So which means, as a leader, if you don't continue to invest in yourself, if you don't continue to make sure that you stay on top of your game, excuse me, um, eventually you will just be pedaling. You were like, I think Cheeto was mentioning earlier, you would try to use yesterday's skill or yesterday's solutions to solve a new problem. No, this problem is now at a complete different level. So which means I need to be in a different way of thinking to be able to sort out that kind of a problem. So I think that's kind of like where my thinking is on that, in terms of roles, goals, and expectations. Bringing up leaders, around stuff like that. So yeah, this.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
Yes.
brilliant. Thanks, Kendrick. Yeah, I think it's a challenging one because we might have expectations and we never know what the other person's capability is
Yeah.
and what their actual intentions are or their own goals are. So that's part of creating that environment. I've just got a third statement, that we have to lead by example to motivate people to achieve goals. And that just follows on from what you said. And I think Chidozi touched on it. And accountability comes in there as well, because in your own household, like you say, if you can't make up your bed, pick up your socks, and I don't like things on the floor, especially clothes. Whereas the kids can sometimes, just step over them and forget that they're there. But I have to make sure I set that example. If something drops and I see it, I will pick it up and remind them. Because as a leader in the house, I have to be accountable. If I don't set the example, yeah, it's not it's not going to happen immediately for children, but we trust one day they will grow out of that and they'll take accountability, and they'll do the right thing by your example. Is there any examples you have you'd like to share on that you think that can motivate people to achieve their goals?
Considering the silence, let me go. Let me go, guys. Um, yeah, maybe I will use an example of what one of the roles I've done in the past. When you go to organizations and you want to, you've been sent in there as a leader, and what tends to happen is someone interviews you, and not the people that you're going to work with, obviously, not the people that you're going to lead, obviously, but the bosses. They will interview you and they will say, listen, this is this is what we want you to do. And there is that temptation to go in, and because you've been briefed, you go in and then you just run with it, with whatever they've told you. And on this occasion, I came in and they said, oh, it was a situation where they wanted to change the way that they were working from one methodology to another methodology. And when I had the interview, I asked them, what's the stage of things? They said, oh no, everybody knows what we're doing. We've told them, so everybody switched on. All you need to do is just go in there and lead it. So going into the organization, normally what I like to do is to have conversations with the people I'm going to lead. Talk about, introduce myself. That's where I start. Even people who don't want to talk to you because you just joined, they will have a reason to, at least if you go and say, oh no, my name is Chidozie, I've just joined as so and so, and I've been asked to help out with so and so. When I joined and began to have these conversations, it was shocking to hear what the views of the people I was going to lead was, as against the views of the people who employed me to come and lead. So I had to go back to the people who employed me after I finished my consultations to say, guys, listen, we are going to crash because what I've been told and what is on the ground is totally different. Everybody has a totally different, very paranoid-based view of what is happening. So being able to be a good communicator, a good relationship builder, whether you're leading at home, at work, in church, in the society, anywhere, being able to communicate and speak to the people that you're going to lead or that have asked you to lead in such a way that it makes sense. Now, there is the other skill I think is very, very crucial that I use in such situations. You come in, it's that view of this is my job, I want to deliver, I want to become successful as a leader. So in most cases, you find people, they'll come in and they'll start trying to destroy others or to, be very, very erratic and crazily destroy and dismantle and shape things around in order to achieve that goal of a success. And the funny thing is, when you're leading, people can see you. They can see your intentions. It's very, very clear. It's just you as the leader that may not know how much of information that the people you're leading know about your selfishness or your generosity. So coming into those situations and creating a goal. And you see that example with Jesus. Jesus came as a channel through which we'll access who? God. It's not about him, it's about God. So he's not leading to satisfy himself, he's leading to give you benefit. So you think about the benefit of the people that are in the team, and that way, what I do is I create a goal, something like a cross, with similarity of a cross. We're not going to church to look at the pastor. We're not going to church to look at the leaders in the church. We're going to church to look at the cross and what happened on the cross. That's cross that's made us who we are right now. So being able to create that picture of a big goal that even you as a leader want to achieve as much as every single member of the team. For example, if this project, if it succeeds, I'm not going to say, oh, because I'm leading the project, it's my success. If it succeeds, we all as a team have succeeded. If it fails, for me to be a good leader, I can't come out and say, oh, you know what, I did my best, but you see, these guys, they didn't do what they were supposed to do. That's why it failed. No matter how much success you've recorded in the past, no matter what your track record is, once you say that, people will know that, no, this one, no, this is not a leader. So that creates that desperation, that creates that focus on that common goal, And once there's a common goal that I am pursuing myself as a leader as just with the same vigor as every other member of the team, you see that it becomes easier. But when we put ourselves at the center, if you do this, I will look good in the front of my bosses. If you do this, I'll get accolades and so on. I'll be seen as the best leader and so on and so forth. Then you start losing it. You start losing it. And that's why, you see, one of the biggest leadership lessons that's taught in the Bible is he that will retain their lives will lose it, and he that will lose their lives will save it. So when you're pushing away all needs, you're looking after other people's needs, you are bringing people and say, guys, I know I'm leading, but it's our goal. Let us win. When we win, we will all look good. When I go out there, I will talk of an amazing team that has enabled this team to deliver this project. That sort of thing. So those are the two I would like to touch on.
Yeah, that's awesome, Chidozi. Yeah, I think it's important, like you mentioned, to get the whole team motivated to do their best, which means sometimes you have to take a back seat in trying to control. And I think what the Bible says is we have to, within our work, for instance, do everything as unto the Lord. So you're going to give your best, isn't it? You should do your best and not hold back. But if others need to shine, you allow them within the team and everyone gets recognition. If there's failings, which sometimes they are, you again take accountability and you learn from those examples. Anything to add, Kendrick?
Mr. Chiro did a great job with that one, sir. He did a great job. But let me just add something on top of that. I think when it comes to lead by example to motivate people to achieve goals, I think one of the most difficult places to lead is in charitable organizations, church and stuff like that. Where people don't get paid. It's like when you're in a work environment, maybe somebody will listen to you because they know that the manager has put you in place there, so you got to do the job. Otherwise, we might take some commission away. But I think one of the lessons that I've learned over the years is to really motivate people and to lead them to a place where they do things with a free and willing heart. They set their own personal goals is when you actually show a personal interest in those people. Because I think when you kind of like communicate with and you lead a group, say what, 15, 20, 30, 50 people, it's kind of like more challenging to come and stand there in front of them and say, all right, guys, this is what we're going to do. And, got to do this and do this and do that. And it just takes one person to say, but why do we need to do it? And suddenly the whole thing is like, yeah, why do we need to do it? I mean, but if you have like personal connection, personal relationship with people, it's almost like much easier for them to buy into, because why they know your heart. They know that you have an interest in their goals, in their aspirations, and everything that you do is not just based on selfishness. It's not based on for you to look good in the eyes of the boss, but is like even what Chido was saying, is so that the credit goes to the team, because everyone has something to bring to the table. And I think that's even what's so powerful with, for example, this forum that we are using, because all of us are so unique. Everybody's got something different, something special, something unique to bring to the table. But it's up to us as an individual to recognize that. And if we recognize that, if you recognize that within a team setup, there will be no kind of like unnecessary competition. There will be no backbiting. There will be no quarrel or whatever, because
Yes.
I know what I can bring. Andrew can't bring it. What Andrew bring, I can't bring it. Or what Chido brings, I can. Because why? Because you have confidence in your gift. You have confidence in the value that you can produce. And I think when you, so what I'm saying is this: when it comes to motivating people within a team, get them to a place where they realize their value. It's like, wow, yeah, I can actually bring something to the table. I can actually make it. I can make a difference. I can deliver. I can add something to the team that nobody else can, or maybe they can try to do it the way I'm doing it, but I've got some little bit more spice to it. So I think that's really important, because now it's not it's not based on a single or person or on two, but it's a collective collaboration of different minds and different gifts and different of everything come together to build something. And I think if you can get the team to see that,
Yeah,
it's a good place to be. It's a good place to
that's
be.
awesome. Awesome. Thanks, Kendrick. Yeah,
Yes,
I
sir.
think it's really good you're highlighting that. That's so important. Just lastly, the last point I had was for us to set milestones, and I think one of the best ways to ensure that accountability is shared across the board is to set milestones. Like you mentioned, Kendrick, to bring that clarity for those involved
Mm,
under your leadership and those who are aspiring to also lead. And I guess this way, for instance, in an organization, it will feel more inclined to stay focused, um, and deliver on, say, a competitive advantage. But we can't forget to celebrate milestones either, even if it's a small gesture or something that comes along. Um, but I think even for employees, we can overcome obstacles and achieve goals if we do set milestones. So it gives clarity. And in our lives, I think is important. But accountability, yet again, uh, shares that space. Any thoughts on that as we wrap up for this evening?
yeah, you going for it, Chito?
Let me just go for it briefly. Give myself 1 minute to
Go for
talk
it.
about this. The time starts now. Now, you talk about leadership. You're talking about setting milestones that are very, very crucial, because you have set those flags for where we are going. My view about milestones is it's something like a map. If you create a map to show people where they're going, they are more likely to get there, because as difficult as it might get at some stages, they can see what's waiting, the next milestone. There's a celebration there, you know. So just not just about having those milestones, but making sure that there is some form of gratification at each of the milestones, and that keeps drawing people to that place, you know. And the general picture of the milestone shows people the journey. This is where we are leaving from. This is where we're going, and this is what we're going to get from all these journeys that we're making. That's my contribution.
That's
Thank you.
that's brilliant. Yeah, and I think that those, like a roadmap, companies would normally, or divisions would have a roadmap, but that's the roadmap doesn't have just a start and an end. There's loads of stages in between.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that, Kendrick? Is it something you see in all spheres, like work
Yeah,
where you're involved in?
yeah. I think it's paramount, isn't it? Because milestones is pretty much setting goals, isn't it? It's like there's in any game that you play, and we are in the game of the game of life. We don't just aimlessly just plotting along and just hoping to get somewhere. There have to be some, because I think what goals does, or what milestones does, it kind of like brings some kind of motivation. It gives you drive, because you know that, all right, there's something that we working towards. And I think what also goes hand in hand with that is growth and goals. It has got to be it needs to go together, because sometimes we can have a huge goal that we want to obtain, but we don't grow within ourselves. So when we actually reach the goal, our thinking has not really changed. It maybe has changed in a way because of the kind of challenges that you have to go through to obtain that goal or to reach that milestone. But I think uh, even more so, we should make a growth. We should make the lesson that I've learned while I'm pushing towards that milestone. That's key. Because if it's not, let me even say it even much more stronger. It's not so even so much about obtaining the goal or reaching the milestone. It's the lessons that we learn and the person that we become while we walk towards that. That's more important, because sometimes we just don't pay attention. We just, oh, gotta get this goal. Let's get this goal. Let's reach this milestone. All right, we reach it. Okay, what now? Let's go for the next one. All right, we go. But internally, because remember, we live life from the inside out, and everything that we're reaching for, there's a reason why we have to go through a process. The process is more important than reaching the actual milestone. So yeah, that's just my thought behind that, sir.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks. I know we're on the top of the hour, so I think we'll wrap up. I'll just run through the questions again, and I think what I'd like us to do is to go away and think about this, because I'd like some more feedback in terms of other things we picked up that we might not have missed on, that we didn't discuss maybe in this hour. But number one was, what does accountability look like? And we're talking about accountability in the context of leadership. The second point was clarify roles, goals, and expectations for each leader, and that looking at other people that is within our immediate leadership influence, people that we impact, and even us looking at our leaders to gain the inspiration there for us. Third is lead by example to motivate people to achieve their goals. And I think that's really important, even in families. And setting milestones. And I think we can talk endlessly about accountability and leadership. But I think it's really, really good this evening. Thanks for joining. It's been fantastic. I think we'll still, with a hot evening like this, I hope we all got some ice creams left. Yeah, I wish I could share with you. I always buy ice creams on a hot evening after we have our discussion, just to cool down.
Yeah, we receive it by faith. Don't worry.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you so much. It's been a very, very insightful session, and thanks all for sharing those nuggets. Very, very grateful. Thank you.
Great job. So thank you so much for sharing that with us, sir. We really appreciate that. And yeah, we took some notes, and we know like this will make us better and pull us to a higher level. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, everyone.
All right, guys.
Absolutely.
See you soon.
Thank
Have
you.
a great week. Cheers.
Enjoy your
See you
evening.
next week.
Thank you.
Same
All right.
time.
Cheers.
Good night,
Bye-bye.
guys. God bless you.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye. God bless.